The gym fell silent when Marcus walked through the door. It wasn't unusual for older men to train there, but something about this 72-year-old commanded attention. His arms were covered in faded tattoos, layer upon layer of ink that seemed to tell 1,000 stories. Most were simple black designs, some barely visible beneath wrinkles and age spots, others still bold despite the decades. Lieutenant Jake Harrison, a decorated Navy SEAL fresh from his 3rd deployment, couldn't help but stare. He'd seen plenty of military ink before, worn his own with pride, but this was different. The old man's tattoos weren't the polished work of modern artists. They were crude, almost primitive, scattered across his weathered skin without pattern or purpose. Jake watched as Marcus methodically worked through his routine, moving with a precision that suggested military training, though his body bore the weight of many years. After their workout, Jake approached the old man at the water fountain. The question came out more harshly than he'd intended, tinged with the arrogance of youth and accomplishment. "Why so many tattoos, old man?" "Looks like you let a kid loose with a pen?" Marcus turned slowly, his pale blue eyes meeting Jake's without anger, only a deep weariness that seemed to reach back through time. He set down his water bottle and rolled up his sleeve further, revealing dozens more marks. Some were names, others were dates, a few were simple crosses. The silence stretched between them as other gym members began to gather, sensing something profound about to unfold. "Each one," Marcus began, his voice quiet but steady, "is a promise I kept." He pointed to a crude anchor near his wrist. This was for Tommy Reeves. 19 years old, loved the ocean more than anything. Got hit by shrapnel in Da Nang, 1968. Didn't make it off the field. I promised him I'd get this, so he'd always be near the water he loved. His finger moved to a rough star. "This one's for James Chung, 22, wanted to be an astronomer. Died in my arms talking about constellations he'd never see again." Jake's expression shifted from curiosity to something deeper, something closer to reverence. The gathered crowd stood motionless as Marcus continued, his fingers tracing each mark like a roadmap of grief. "There were 47 tattoos in total," he explained. 47 men from his platoon who never made it home from Vietnam. Men whose families he'd visited, whose mothers had cried on his shoulder, whose children grew up without fathers. "We made a pact," Marcus said, his voice cracking slightly. "If any of us didn't make it, the survivors would carry something for them. Something permanent. Something that said their lives mattered. That they'd be remembered even when the world moved on and forgot about a war nobody wanted to talk about." He paused, looking down at his arms. "I was the only one who came back. So I carried them all." Jake felt his throat tighten. He'd lost brothers too, knew the weight of survivor's guilt, but he'd never seen devotion like this. 47, he whispered. "You got 47 tattoos for your fallen brothers?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Got the first one a week after I came home. My wife thought I was crazy. Took me 5 years to finish them all. Had to save up, find the right symbols for each man. Some families helped me choose. Others I never found, so I picked something myself, something that felt right." He smiled sadly. "My wife left me after the 12th one. Said I was living in the past, that I needed to let go. But how do you let go of men who gave everything? How do you forget faces that trusted you to bring them home?" The gym remained utterly silent. Several people had tears streaming down their faces. Jake stood at attention without realizing it, his earlier bravado completely dissolved. He'd thought his own tattoos meant something, commemorating missions and achievements. But this old man had turned his entire body into a memorial, a living monument to sacrifice and brotherhood. "I'm sorry, sir," Jake said, his voice thick with emotion. "I had no right to speak to you that way." Marcus placed a weathered hand on Jake's shoulder. "You're a SAL. You understand what it means to serve with brothers who die for you. Maybe someday you'll understand this too. I hope you never have to." He gathered his gym bag and turned to leave, then paused. "But if you do, son, you carry them. However you can, wherever you go, you carry them. Because that's what love looks like when everything else is stripped away." As Marcus walked out into the afternoon sunlight, every person in that gym stood a little straighter, felt their own burdens a little differently. Jake looked down at his own arms, at the tattoos he'd thought were so meaningful, and realized he'd just learned what true devotion looked like. It wasn't about pride or accomplishment. It was about never forgetting those who gave everything, about carrying their memory forward even when the weight became almost unbearable. That old man with his faded, simple tattoos had just taught a room full of warriors what it really meant to serve.